Hiya! I'm just dropping in because I've got something exciting to share with you. It's my Ultimate Speaker Signature Keynote Bootcamp, and I'm opening it up for 6 people who'd like a hybrid approach to creating a signature talk that gives maximum support and commitment and achieve your speaker goals but at a very low price. So what I'm going to do in this 4-month container is support you to write and deliver a high quality, fee-worthy talk and help you create a strategy so that you can land the right gigs to the right audiences, all aligned with your expertise. So with this container, you can expect bi-weekly calls, 8 in total, to help you create your talk and your strategy. There will be a private group for consistent support to share recordings and get feedback. You get a one-to-one call with me, which is a one-to-one coaching call. You get an in-person meetup in Brighton, UK, or online, and you get lifetime access to my Ultimate Speaker program. I'm offering this at a really low price right now because I want to test proof of concept for future cohorts. It's running between September and December, and it's just $697 or 3 payments of $233. Now, if this is something you're interested in, please get in touch, hello@helenpackham.com, and we can arrange a time to chat. Toodaloo! Welcome to the Words That Change Lives podcast, helping leaders, coaches, and small business owners to 10 times the impact of their message. Join us as we delve into the art of powerful language, enabling you to speak with unwavering honesty, communicate authentically, and create a lasting impression with every word. So, this topic I want to talk about today is something that is very much part of my story and still is part of my story. It is not a destination, it's very much a journey and something that I still struggle with. However, I have come a long, long way in managing this, and it is social anxiety. Now, I just want to preface this with I am not an expert in social anxiety. I am not qualified in things like CBT and other modalities that I might mention in this episode. I'm talking from personal experience and also sharing practical strategies that I have found really help if you are someone who gets easily nervous or embarrassed in social environments. Now, the sorts of things I'm talking about here are meetings, briefings, presentations, networking sessions, public speaking of any shape or form, or even just having conversations with smaller groups of people, maybe going to parties and things like that. And people look at me and think, God, you're so confident with that sort of thing. Well, actually, at the roots of it, I'm not. I was really shy as a child, and I just went red so easily, and I got very, very embarrassed. And I still do go red easily in situations. I can't help it. And anybody who blushes will know how annoying it is to feel your face going red for no reason whatsoever. And then, of course, that affects your confidence and what you're saying. So from a very young age, this was an issue for me. And I felt awkward in social situations because of it. And my career kind of lent itself to trying to overcome this because I'd started acting when I was younger. And I found that in an acting environment, I wasn't prone to blushing. And I think it's because there was this performance armor. So when I was on a stage, the spotlight was on me, but it wasn't actually on me, if you know what I mean. People weren't directly targeting me with a question. I was able to perform. So I did that in lots of dance, lots of theatre, performing in Amdram groups, really getting into it with the school, being in the local pantomime every year. I loved all of that. And it really did help me to overcome this shyness, this crippling embarrassment of feeling awkward and then saying the wrong thing in social situations. So I think, for me, this is an important topic, and why I'm sharing this from a personal perspective is how you can go some way to overcome social anxiety if you are someone that gets nervous speaking in meetings, giving presentations, or speaking to certain people within organizations, that's another really important one. Hierarchy plays a big part in this as well. Or maybe you need to go to networking events, but you're just too scared. So hopefully this can help you. So that's what I'm going to be covering today, because the statistics show that 8 million people in the UK and about 15 million American adults are affected by social phobias. So I'm going to shed some light on why, and I'm going to share some strategies that you can adopt. So let's think about the impacts. Now, you probably already know if you are an avoidant of social situations or networking or briefings, meetings, public speaking, whatever it might be. But of course, it can have an impact on interpersonal relationships, because it can form difficulties in forming and maintaining relationships due to avoidance. Now, avoidance is the person with social anxiety's biggest enemy, but that is what you do, you avoid. And of course, you might feel fear of rejection and judgment, but that then just impacts on interpersonal relationships. Also, occupational functioning, the skills that are required to frequently interact with people of all levels within organisations through things like meetings and briefings and public speaking. If you don't have that as a skill, of course it can have an impact on your job performance. Of course, career advancement as well. As you progress through leadership, these sorts of skills are required. And so to be avoidant of them or to be incredibly nervous about them can have an impact on your career. And mental health, because social phobias often co-occur with other mental conditions like depression, generalized anxiety disorder, which is something that I had, and substance abuse disorders. So as I said, this is something that's really important to me. And this is why I'm sharing this. So I like to always understand, where does this come from? And we're kind of hardwired for it. There's biological factors that come into it. There's psychological factors. So biological research suggests that family history can play a part. So maybe an anxiety disorder has been passed down. Also, the environment in your childhood, if there was any bullying or rejection or any embarrassing social situations. I remember very clearly being embarrassed in a social situation, and that massively contributed to the development of this social anxiety. Negative self-beliefs, low self-esteem, and perfectionism can also exacerbate. There's also cognitive biases, such as catastrophic thinking, which is expecting the worst possible outcomes, which is my problem. I think of the worst possible outcome when I'm feeling anxious. Attentional biases, which means you're maybe focusing on a social threat. All of these can have an impact. And we did evolve this way. I always like to do a bit of evolutionary history when I can deliver a podcast. And we need to look at it like that, because it's why we have fear. We needed to avoid harmful encounters. So social interaction could present physical or social threats, such as competition for resources, conflict, exposure to a predator. And if you were cautious or avoided this sort of thing, you may have survived longer. Also, there's a lot about social status and reputation. So if you think about the hierarchies that we did have, that we do also have now, they were crucial to survival, and they determined access to resources and mating opportunities. And so fear of social judgment or rejection may have motivated individuals to adhere to social norms and avoid behaviours that could jeopardise. I saw a Netflix documentary recently about groups of chimps, and if the behaviour wasn't right, one of them would get hoiked out of the group and then they don't survive. So it's thinking about that, putting your head above the parapet or saying the wrong thing. The fear is like an intrinsic fear, it's in our DNA. Also, fear of social disapproval, being ostracised from the group. As I said, it might have incentivized individuals to conform. So it kind of makes sense then that it's kind of built in and it's there, and well, we can acknowledge it and we can do something about it. Now, these 6 things I'm going to share with you now have really helped me. And I have a YouTube video called How to Feel Confident in Front of Anyone. I will link it in the show notes. It just talks about these things a little bit more. But the first thing I have been able to do to help me with this is own my greatness. Now, I don't want to sound cheesy about that. But if you know who you are and what you're bringing to any given situation, a meeting, a briefing, a presentation, a keynote talk, a networking event, you are much more likely to feel grounded and solid and confident because you have clarity of what you are bringing, what value you are bringing. And that's just a general exercise in personal growth, by the way. I really recommend getting very clear on who you are, what you stand for, what your strengths are. That's a personal branding exercise. I do thought leader brand exercises in my work with people, leaders and entrepreneurs. So starting there is really important. The second is grounding yourself before going into an interaction can massively reduce the catastrophizing thoughts. So you can do that by, doing all sorts of things like breathing and logic and asking, what's the likelihood of this bad thing happening from 1 to 100? What's logically going to happen? What's the evidence that something bad might happen? There are all sorts of ways that you can ground yourself through getting really practical in your thoughts and minimizing catastrophic thoughts. You can also trick your body by reciting a power word or doing a power pose. Now, Amy Cuddy's done amazing, extensive work on this. Go check her out if you don't know. But before my TEDx talk, I did a power pose and recited a power word, which was power, and it massively, massively helped. The other thing that you can do to overcome anxiety in social situations is by using a pull influencing approach. Now, I train this out in organizations, and using a pull approach means that you are always coming from a place of exploration first. This particularly works well in networking meetings or events where you're finding out about the other person. You are listening and exploring. When you're doing that and holding space for someone else first, it brings you down, it calms you down, and it makes you feel more confident. So one of the things I like to do when I'm meeting a stranger for the first time is really find out what excites them about their work. So I might ask that question. So what's really exciting you about your work at the moment? If it was a networking event, then I can really see what lights up their eyes, and we can tailor the conversation around that. Always think, what am I bringing to a situation like that at a networking event rather than what am I getting out of it? Because by going in that way, you can actually really, really benefit yourself, also feel more confident, hold space and reduce nerves. The other thing that really helps me is to keep the perfect outcome in mind. This is called a retrospective resource state. Imagine yourself at the end of the talk, the meeting, the presentation, the briefing or the networking event, and think about the outcome. Is it something, a decision was made? You got a yes. You had a conversation and you felt confident. Imagine what that outcome is and then work your way back. It's called retrospective resource state. Work your way back into the nuts and bolts of what happened to get to the beginning of that. So when you go into that event, picture the end in mind and focus on the outcome you want. And that can help reduce your nerves. And the final point I've got here is exposure. Doing more of it will desensitize you. It won't just desensitize you, it will increase your confidence, your skills, and your ability in those situations. I speak from experience here. I ran away from a career where I was doing this every single day, and I hid, and I thought I couldn't do it anymore. But exposing myself again, I know it's hard, we're still lagging from COVID, but getting yourself out more, getting yourself to networking events, doing a talk in your local community, delivering that keynote, giving that presentation or that pitch, doing it more and more and more is going to expose you, and it's going to increase your confidence and as well expand your comfort zone. So lean into it and get that exposure. So if you are able to put these things in place over time, they can help you to feel more confident in front of anyone. This is just a short episode, but I really wanted to share these points. Check out the YouTube video for more information or contact me, hello@helenpackham.com, to share your thoughts on this. How do you overcome social anxiety? What is currently holding you back due to your social anxiety from being able to do things? And how can you put steps in place to really work with this, expand your comfort zone, increase your confidence, and reduce those feelings of anxiety in social situations to get the outcomes that you want, to deliver that keynote talk, to get that yes on that pitch, to network with people who you can really build some strong relationships with. The possibilities are endless if you work on this really, really crucial thing, and I support you the whole way. And I hope you found this useful. Thanks for listening to Words That Change Lives. Please rate, review and follow on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really means the world and helps me to reach more people so that we can all harness the power of our words and change lives for the better.